So those, yeah, those are the big ones. If there's no other questions, any other questions? All right. You get her pulled up there.
I did have two things I wanted to add to what Jason talked about. You know, the whole box thing, and sometimes you may wonder, well, where are they coming from on this recommendation or requirement? Here's where it all boils down to. We're only going to follow up if it's a public health nuisance or pretty much an imminent risk of creating a public health nuisance. So when you have outright failure, we're going to follow up. Softeners going into the tank, we're not going to run after people taking softeners out of tanks. We told you, you told them, they can deal with it. They choose not to deal with it. We don't have the time to be running after silly things like that. Boxes, that's why we also did the boxes thing. We were chasing down people for boxes that are kind of half deteriorated, and we don't have the time to be chasing that stuff down. Now, if the box is falling in on itself, and like Jason said, barely lets flow through, it backs the tank up, it's only got one line being used, then we will follow up. That's why we wanted to kind of differentiate. We were getting into so much little things that we just couldn't keep up with it all. So that's partly, and the bottom line is, if it's a public health nuisance, then we follow up, make sure it gets fixed. If not, we're not going to run after risers. We're not going to run after half deteriorated boxes. That's up to the owner. They've heard, they know. The other thing that's came up halfway through the year, a few months ago, we sent out a notice to the service providers about the water submittal. If you want a certification from us, we found out from the state health department, we have to make sure that you are a registered water systems contractor. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, registered water systems contractor if we're to review your water stuff. If you don't turn it into us and you're doing it anyhow, that's up to you. I don't care. But as soon as it comes in the door and the realtor, the bank, or you, or whoever wants us to review it, then we have to make sure that you're that water systems contractor, and that's at the state level. Because for the last few years that we've done this, you've submitted them to us without that, and we've reviewed them. But now we've learned that we have to make sure that you have that credential before we can review those things. So if you don't want to submit them to us, so be it. I don't care. If somebody wants you to, then we do have to have that. So, is there any other questions then? All right, we're going to have Courtney go over some updates with our operation and maintenance program. That we really just kind of got started with this year. In the past, as some of you know, we've had kind of an operation and maintenance system of sorts. We've had anytime you get a building or zoning permit, a system gets inspected. At that point in time, of course, we do public health nuisances. In 2008, we started the property transfer program. And those of you that have been around to know that we had a phase 2 program for a while, what all that was is we were looking at systems out there in neighborhoods and seeing how they were doing. Well, the most common concern I repeatedly heard phone calls about was turn your aerator on, get it serviced. It was all the time. So we realized that aeration units are one of the biggies as far as making sure they're maintained. If you turn it off, if you fail to maintain it, it's the quickest thing that's going to discharge raw untreated sewage into the ditch. So we need those things operating properly. So this has been since I've been here, 17 years, this has been in the horizon that we need to deal with this. Stark County has more septic systems than any county in the state, roughly 40 to 43,000, somewhere in there. And we have our share of aeration systems. And this needed to be dealt with then, and we finally, after 17 years of trying to pull this together, database and the financing and all that, we finally arrived where we're at now. So it's been a need. If you read any of the reports of the water quality in Stark County, it's not great. And probably one of the largest contributors besides agriculture is sewage, especially in some of our older subdivisions, pre-1980s, 60s, 50s, you go far enough back, and we are right now dealing with the sins of the past. So that's why we needed to go this direction, and Courtney will give you some updates on how that's going.
Sure. You guys in the back, do you want to come forward and grab a seat, or you guys okay there? I don't know if you don't want to interrupt or anything, but you won't bother me if you move forward and grab a seat. I'm Courtney Myers, and as Todd said, kind of overseeing the O&M with the aerator program here. We have been working on this, even just for me, for probably the last year or so. I was off on maternity leave over the fall, but before I left, one of the main things that I was doing is just trying to figure out how we were going to handle this program, how we were going to handle the data, what were we going to expect from homeowners or regulation changes. I'm working with Todd to kind of get that in place. And now we're 6 months into the program, and anytime there's a new program, something that we haven't done before, at the 6-month point is a good time to kind of sit back and think about what we've just done in the last 6 months, how did that go, what changes do we need to make for the future. And so I wanted to kind of give you a little overview of what we've been doing here, some statistics. Definitely want to talk about homeowner servicing. I know that's kind of a hot button topic, so I want to review kind of our strategy on that, where we're going with homeowner servicing, and then kind of our thoughts of where we're headed for the next year or so, and how this program is going to build, because this program is going to take some time for us to kind of get rolling and get started. You know, the service providers out there, first of all, thank you for all the work you guys are doing on your end. I know to add another level of reporting, another level of data, and another responsibility, especially on just the office side, is a massive undertaking. I completely understand that because I'm the one doing that here in this office. So I understand the boat that you're in, and you know, I just want to send a big thank you for everybody that's been doing a great job with that. And not only are you handling the office side of things, now all of a sudden you're handling all these service contracts that you before may not were set up to do. You're used to the percentage that you had, and that probably has increased for you, and it will continue to increase for you as we move forward in the enforcement of this program here. Let me give you some statistics. Current statistics in our database. What we have right now as known aerators is just under 3,500 known aerators. But we know that number is actually larger than what we have. We have aerators that were put in many decades ago where the data wasn't as good. So we are identifying every single day more aerators out there. We're identifying them, first of all, anytime we do repairs to the system, field identification anytime that our staff are out in the field, when they're noticing that an aerator is out there, we're putting that into our new database and getting that updated. Our property transfer program that Jason's reviewing, he's reviewing that, and he's taking a look at what we have in our database compared to what you're seeing there out in the field. And so we're updating with that program as well. And now with the service contract data. The monthly reporting that you guys are sending to us, I can tell you, there's definitely times where I'm putting in data and I didn't have record of that one. So that number's jumping. We probably think that number will probably be about 5,000 is kind of our guess of where we'll end up as we kind of move forward with this program. Current contracts. Now current contract just means that, you know, this program started in January and you started reporting there in February for us. But some companies did provide some information of contracts that maybe started in November or December to us. So we have 700 contracts that we are aware of at this time that are current contracts, okay? So that's where we're at right now. Not all 700 were underneath this new program, but we're aware of about 700 contracts out there, which gives us about a 20% compliance. Now I know, based on the phone calls that I've gotten and that you've received, that 20%, without this program, we wouldn't be at 20% at this point. So we already have seen a jump in the contracts that we have out there, but obviously we still have 80% to go for the known aerators. So we still have a lot of work out there, and I'll talk about what we're going to be doing here to kind of get the rest of the 80% on board with contracts. As far as service data, you're going out there 2 times a year underneath a service contract, but we know realistically, a lot of these go out more than just 2 times because you get service calls, you have other issues to deal with. So what we've had from reports since our February, the first time we did reporting, is 787 inspections completed so far, coming from the homeowners and the properties. To give you a little bit of aerator type, so you can just kind of see what we have in our database as far as the brands are are out there. Kind of the big jet, 48%, multi-flow 23, AquaSave 17, and the rest are kind of small percentages there. So that just kind of gives you a little overview of the aerator types that we have in our database. And I can tell you we have some that we know that are aerators, but we don't have a brand there too. So there's definitely an unknown component. I think here it has listed as 5%. So we know that there are aerators out there, we're just not sure what they are. O&M issues. The issues that we've seen the last 6 months, probably the big issue for me and the big issue for you, phone calls. How to deal with all these phone calls coming in. And I know that happens when we start doing mailings, and we just started this program. The biggest phone call that I got, other than I just don't like this program, is I've had this system for 35 years and I've never done anything to it. And it's fine, it just discharges out to that creek and I haven't done anything to it. We get that phone call a lot. We know that system's probably not functioning too well. They've done absolutely nothing in 35 years. That's kind of been the hard sell for us, to get those people to understand why this program is important if they haven't done anything in such a long time. I've actually gotten quite a few phone calls of people calling and saying thank you for doing something like this, and when are you going to branch it out to every kind of septic system out there? So it goes both ways. We have the people out there that are just not happy about taking more responsibility on, the costs associated with it, and we have homeowners that are thankful that their neighbor's finally going to have to do something about it. So it's gone both ways, but I know the phone calls on your end too have jumped dramatically, and it's been an issue for you. Monthly reporting, parcel number, that's always an issue. Our database has everything listed by the parcel number. It's just going to be something that on our end we're going to have to be dealing with, because parcel numbers do change. And so we'll be reviewing the data that you give in to us as far as what the parcel numbers you have listed. If there's changes, I'm going to let you know if they've been updated. The auditor site is the best, I should put that in quotes, best resource. We know it's not 100%. We know sometimes there's not even parcels listed there, but we know that there's a property there. But that's kind of the best resource to use. Emailing the spreadsheets to me is important. Some service providers are just putting a paper copy. It hasn't been that big of a deal because maybe they're only reporting a handful of contracts or inspections. But to have that computerized spreadsheet really helps automate things on our end. And the less time that we can handle the data means the more time we're out there actually getting these people under contract. So emailing the spreadsheet is important, and due by the 15th of the following month, which most service providers haven't had too much issue with that. One of the other big issues that I've received phone calls from you guys about is homeowners not cooperating with the needs of the system, saying, hey, I was out there at this property, they're under service contract, we did what we needed to do, but there's some component of their system not functioning correctly. And we told them that it needs to be changed. We need to get a new part in there, and they're refusing to comply. They're refusing to take care of their system. One of the things that we'd like you to do is, it is your responsibility to report the servicing that you're doing at these locations, at these properties. And one of the resources we could be is we could follow up with these homeowners, okay? So what we would like you to do is on your service inspection on that spreadsheet, on your outcome, if there's a needs further repair, that's something that's going to trigger a red flag on our end that it needs further repair. And if there's additional information here as far as homeowner needs to get a new UV bulb, they're refusing to do so, something's wrong with the motor, any additional information you can provide over on this column, that will generate us to make contact with the homeowner and let them know that some changes need to take place. So we could do that by giving them a call, doing letters, ultimately public health orders if they refuse to take care of the system. We want to make sure that not only are they just signing a contract and spending a little bit of money each year, but the system is working correctly too. So it's not just about having that service contract, just making sure that that system's working properly.